In this week's Two Wheels Better, Wayne actually does get to ride a bike, although it's not a very big one. But first, here's Jeff Stone down at the cafe.
This is Two Wheels Better, and this here is the Ace Cafe. But this isn't the reunion that we covered earlier, this is the Ace Cafe for real. You used to come here in the good old days, didn't you?
Yeah, in middle 50s.
Yeah.
Going up towards the 60s, down on first of all an A7, and then progressed to an A10 sidecar with a wife and a couple of kids. And we used to take the chair off and fly up and down the main road here. It's all changed now. The dual carriageway is miles over there, but this used to be the main road just outside.
Yeah.
And we used to get bullied by the police officers sometimes, but as usual, some of the police were good, some of them weren't. That used to be the cafe where it says just tyres. And tyres went there. Anyway, we got turfed out later in the 60s. We never came back again, and we were so glad that in the end they had a reunion a couple of years ago, and they're going to start reopening it again, and perhaps we'll have some.
And you stuck with bikes all this time then?
Small break in the middle, went to cars. About 59 I still had a bike, but I sold the bike at 60 in 64, was on cars, and then about 71 straight back onto bikes again. Started back with little stuff, got me nerve back again, and now of course progressed right up to the big 900 Triumph now.
Yeah, I'd say you're back with Triumphs then, so you're a Brit biker through and through, are you?
I don't want to sell this one, but it's getting heavy now, past retirement age, so I always think that I got to stay with the Triumph.
But at least you can relive some of your youth here then, but no wheelies, I guess?
Not nowadays, no. My old 650 Gold Flash wouldn't do a wheelie because it was geared down for sidecar work.
Now Mark, I've dusted down my old leather jacket here just to be part of the scene, but is it necessary to come to the Ace Cafe?
I think in truth not, because a lot of the people bringing bikes here actually bring them in vans and things and parking them in pride of place out in the forecourt here.
Right, so no real problem. It's open to all?
Open to all, but the identity of the place is without doubt that heritage of Tritons, cafe races, and the spirit of that British motorcycling period of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, well, we've seen some crackers down there. Now, when I last spoke to you down at Brighton, you were about to open, so are you pleased with the response so far?
Yeah, we've only had, this is our 5th Sunday, and it's all stopgap, etc. But no, it's wonderful to see everybody sort of flocking around to enjoy cups of tea and chips again.
Why not? Now, I know it's only a sort of a temporary setup that you got at the moment, isn't it? You're open for business, as it were, but you've got greater plans.
I wouldn't describe it as a temporary setup.
All right.
What we've done is acquired the freehold of the place. We have got the planning consent for the whole project, which is a cafe on the ground floor and a restaurant on the upper floor. But what I wanted to do in the first instance, was to start on a Sunday only basis, to continue that identity with motorcycles and that history which is wrapped up in the place. And I didn't wish to prejudice that identity with all week long opening. This is the core of it, motorbikes.
Okay, and so the plans from sort of now on in though, because what I meant was you've only got part of it open, you've still got the Just Tyres down there. Now in the old days, Just Tyres, that was part of the Ace, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the larger part of the building. Originally it was a cafe and a restaurant. The portion that we currently occupy was the extension to the restaurant. Upstairs, where we have the various rooms with the tables and whatnot and magazines, that was originally accommodation. Eventually that will all be knocked through into one big restaurant on the upper floor.
So it's going to be quite a place. Now tell me, talking to some of the old stagers down here, tales galore, and I suppose they've been embellished over the time. But what's all this about the jukebox having to be screwed down and the tables as well? Were they thrown around, were they?
Well, originally you could only hear rock and roll either at the fairground or on jukeboxes in places such as this, the Ace Caff. People wanted those records, and as I'm told, they would invariably break the jukebox or try and steal the whole thing, and eventually here they bolted the jukebox down and put it behind a iron cage, and all of that is quite clear on the ground, actually in the Just Tires portion, where you can still see where it was affixed to the floor. You can still see where the tables were affixed to the floor. In fact, the whole kitchen area is still all tiled out.
Now, is this true that there were records lying around on the roof as well at one time?
Yeah, when we first came here and were checking out the roof and whatnot, behind the signage, when I leant over there and had a look, there's all the old neon tubes and bits of old record where I'm told, again, they'd break open the jukebox and throw them up here. We've also found old salt pots and things like that.
Now, tell me, in the 90s, the politically correct 90s, then, is this going to happen again?
Well, whether or not it does happen, I don't know, but certainly we won't want to encourage that sort of behaviour. No, what we want to be is something that is we're all proud of, not wild excesses of youth perhaps, but something that's alive and buzzing, yes, but something that is, this is ours, this is British, it's chips into the 21st century.
Well, because the Ace is all about nostalgia, and talking about nostalgia, I used to have a Triton many years ago, I won't tell you how long, but the guy who used to build these is famous for them, Dave Degan's. Dave, it's good to see you here, and this famous name Dresda. I remember the old Dresda autos and all the rest of it. What have we got here, your little collection?
Yes, it's a selection of bikes that I've kept hold of. This one's the bike that I won the Scarborough Gold Cup in 1969. This is a bike built for a customer, and it's just an example of what we can do. And this one is a 650 Triumph engine in a Norton frame that we won the 24-hour race in 1965, and it's the only British bike with British riders that's ever won the race.
And that was saying,
that's probably the start of the Triton popularity, that people saw this bike winning the race and said, gosh, this is what we want, and we're still making them now.
Yeah. Has there been any difficulty these days with all the classic Galton people wanting to keep their Nortons and keep their Triumphs? I mean, how do you get on for getting the parts together?
No, if anything, there's more parts available, because 90% of motorcycle production in the 60s, 50s and 60s all went to America. The craze has left America, and there's people bringing it all back to England.
All right.
So I've got colleagues bringing container loads of Triumph spares over, and I could pick the phone up and probably get enough to make 15, 20 bikes each month, and it's much more than my capacity.
That's excellent, that is.
Yeah.
And tell me, we're here on the Ace Caff today. Did you used to come to the Ace Caff in the good old days?
Yes, I came in the 50s and in the 60s. I lived at Twickenham, but we quite often used to have a run over here because there's always bikes of interest and interesting people. There's some real characters then. They're still around.
And what were you running in those days, or did you make a Triton in those days?
I had a Triton, but my main bike was a BSA Gold Star, and that I started racing on in 1959. I won the Thruxton non-expert race on that, and that gave me the flair to start racing.
Yeah. And so it must be great for you to be back and see the Ace Cafe coming along the way it is.
Yeah, I didn't think it would ever happen.
No.
When there was the get-together, there was thousands of people here, and I thought, gosh, it's not going to happen. And then Mark has really put a lot of time and effort into getting it all sorted out, and a lot of credit to him.
Well, you meet the nicest people on motorbikes, and who could be a nicer person than Johnny Walker here, ex-Radio 1 DJ and now Radio 2 DJ. Johnny, it's good to see you here.
Nice to see you, Jeff.
Now, I can't believe that you used to come here in the good old days.
No, I didn't actually. I was in Birmingham then, and I remember, and I was a bit of a teddy boy, a bit of a rocker, and I used to go down to the local park, and I used to see all the old Triumphs and the Nortons and stuff, and just love the whole atmosphere. But my dad, unfortunately, was one of those dads who says, "No way are you having a bike, son." So that's why I had to wait a few years before I got onto two wheels.
And now you're on a Beamer, very respectable.
A bit of a respectable Beamer, yeah, a bit boring. A lot of people think they're boring, but it's the old Boxer, but you know, the 4-valve version.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely bike to ride.
But you used to be a Harley man, and I think you spotted this one behind me earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, there's this one over here. I had a Sportster first of all. Well, to go way back in the 70s, I had a Honda 175 Twin.
Yeah.
And I remember I took my test on that, locked up the back wheel, so failed that one. And then I was living in Acton and was working on Radio 1, and I couldn't use the Westway. So I pulled the number plates off and just tried to look professional and use the, you know.
Is it all right for us to broadcast?
No, well, I since have passed my test. And then I had a Harley 1200, then I went to a lowrider. And then I tried one of the big things, you know, with the luggage on the back, the old Electric Glide Classic. And my son, who got into biking on a Honda CBR 600, I said, "Well, fancy a ride this weekend, son?" He said, "No, Dad," you know. He said, I said, "Go on, say it. What's the problem?" He said, "It's too slow." Yeah. So I thought, I've got to do something. So I thought, well, I like the Harley cruise and the open face helmet, put the shades on, nice in the summer, you know. But I thought I'd try something a bit quicker. So then I bought this thing. And now I'm kind of hankering after the kind of bike you've got, the old ZZR. Or maybe a Blackbird. Or maybe they've got a new version of the R1100 coming out next year, so I might go for that.
So, Johnny, what's the attraction of the Ace to you then? You being a relative youngster.
Well, I mean, that's it. You meet young people like you and I here, Jeff, you know, which is part of the attraction. But it's got a lot of the old atmosphere, you know. They've got a jukebox inside there. You see some lovely bikes, some of the old Triumphs in beautiful nick, and they're great to see. So it's that British motorcycle heritage, I think, that's been kept alive here. And there's not that many places for bikers to meet in London, so it's a good focal point for London bikers and anybody else who wants to come.
Well, and if anything's to go by on today's turnout, I mean, it's really going to go well in the heights of summer, isn't it?
No, I think it really will. You know, as the word gets around that this is here and it's open every Sunday, I think there'll be a lot more people coming on.
What on earth have you brought me to here?
I brought you on a special night out, Wayne. Your big chance. You're gonna
night out to what? It's a flipping mill in Blackburn.
It is a disused mill sort of warehouse in Blackburn, but you're going to ride a bike.
Oh, yes, indeed.
You're going to ride a bike.
A Ducati or something?
It'll look like that, but a bit smaller. This is a night out with a bike club.
Oh, excellent. Right,
so get chains and I'll...
What do I need? A bit of gear, like?
I'll race you.
You're going to have a race with me?
Yes.
Oh, yes, indeed. That'll do for me.
Something
can't wait.
Something you don't mind getting wrecked.
What, that? Bodily?
Yeah.
Oh, see.
Right.
So what do you think of that then?
Good, isn't it? Good fun.
Well, it's good fun, but I've sustained an injury.
Have you? What's up?
I've hurt my elbow. I'm leaning on it now, pretending it doesn't hurt.
So we've been out once. How many times did you come off?
Well, in the practice, I actually stayed upright.
Right.
But in the race, I'm afraid I fell off twice.
Right. Well, I fell off once in the race, and then my flipping chain fell off, so I was nobbled.
Are we pulling excuses here now?
Somebody
then?
nobbled my bike, and the chain fell off, and I couldn't finish the race.
I can assure you it wasn't me, but I finished the race in second, even though I fell off twice. But it was decidedly embarrassing, the reason I fell off. And the fact was, there was no pressure on me at the time.
No, exactly. You know what I say? I say to people, if you don't fall off, you're not doing it properly. That's my excuse.
Oh, is that right? Well, I fell off twice, so I must have been doing it twice as good as I need to do. But these bikes, I can't believe it.
Brilliant, aren't they?
They're unbelievable. I mean, people look at them as a toy, but they're not a toy. I mean, that felt like a 500 GP bike.
Well, power to weight ratio is about equivalent to a Grand Prix bike.
Oh, well, the way I went round there, then, doing ought to just be careful.
Is it 6 horsepower or something there?
Is that right?
Thereabouts. Some about 18 kilograms or something.
And that relates to a 500 GP bike?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Well, that's the nearest they're ever going to let me get on one, isn't it? You know, I mean, how much do these things cost? Sort of 700-800 quid for a second-hand one?
I haven't got a clue.
Well, what about a GP bike? Have you any idea how much one of them costs?
Well, you just can't buy them.
Oh, right then. Well, we'll better just stick to these. And we'll put a little label on saying pretend 500. Bill.
Yes.
What have you roped us into here? I'm sustained many injuries. I'm bruised. I'm sore. I'm also highly embarrassed about my efforts.
I think you've done a good job.
You think so?
Yeah.
Beat
me.
Yeah, hello, yeah. This is excellent, this. And this is obviously something you've arranged through the club. How many people have you brought here tonight?
Well, I intended on bringing about 25 minimum. We ended up with about 50 people here.
It shows you how keen they are, yeah. And they're obviously all enjoying themselves. Nobody's sustained, there's no fatalities. Nobody's been stretchered off. But I mean, there's been some hairy moments, hasn't there?
Severely hairy moments. Yeah. We all fell off, I think.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Every lap in my case, yeah. But, I mean, is this something that you do with it's a Warrington Motorcycle Club, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
And is this something, you don't do this on a weekly basis, do you?
No, not really, no. Now and again.
How often?
Usually with the winter months, because the summer months is taken up with going to meetings, ride-outs, camping.
Yeah.
The summer months, winter months, it's always quiet, so we organise things like this.
Yeah, and other things. I know that you do charitable things as well,
Yeah, we do,
don't you? Yeah, tell us about that.
We help to run the Great Northern Bike Run, which is in Alton Park. We do the BMF, which is, I'm not sure if it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. We do the Make-A-Wish Appeal. We do toy runs, Christmas things, charities, all sorts of things like that.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is arranged by you and the club committee for the bike club.
Yeah.
What's the qualifications to be in your club?
No qualifications whatsoever. Any age, any gender, doesn't make a difference.
Do you have to have a bike?
No, not really, no.
Well, there we go then. There's an advert for you. Warrington Motorcycle Club, I believe, meet on a Friday night. I believe they meet at Winnick somewhere, don't you? Yeah.
Winnick Sports and Social Club.
Oh,
I've got it right this time.
You got the plug in. Right then, well, that's all we need to know, because I'm keen to get back on these bikes.
Me too.
There's a possibility we're in the semis, maybe.
Hopefully, yeah.
I don't think we've gone right through to the finals. No, we'll go and do it. We'll go and do our bit, and you may see us on the rostrum later on. So what do you think of that then?
Brilliant, I enjoyed it very much.
Can I just inquire as to where were you in the semis?
Well, I was trying far too hard.
Is that what it was?
And I've worn a few bits off me.
Off your skin?
Off my skin, yeah. I've been off more than I've been on.
I'm a bit concerned about taking my gear off because I think there's some of my skin stuck to my suit.
Well, I believe you accused me of, what was it, dangerous driving, you said?
I do believe
in the same race.
I've got witnesses to the effect that you shoved me off.
No, I would say, I didn't, aggressive driving.
I don't know how you
aggressive riding, aggressive riding.
Yeah.
You don't get anywhere unless you're aggressive.
I was a gentleman. I'm a sporting gentleman, and I hesitate to overtake anyone because it's not fair. You know, they're there.
I think so, yeah.
No, it's not fair.
The secret is, you know, it's not racing, is it? It's balancing.
I don't know what it is, mate. I don't know how you could even come up with that.
It's stay on, isn't it? That's the secret. But it's a good night out, something that you should. I think if you're in a club, it's a great way
It's
to
just a
spend
bloody good laugh.
Much better than sat in the pub.
Well, I just want to point out they're not toys.
They are. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, look at this thing. This just looks too good to ride. It looks like it should be on our mantelpiece at home.
Very nice.
It's the business.
So what's it cost? 25 quid for a night here?
Yeah, it has done.
That's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, and you owe me that, by the way.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Now you brought the subject
all that's
up.
missing is a coffee machine, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we need, a brew, or possibly a small beverage in the form of a pipe pot. And I can just hear it being poured now as we speak.
And a tube of Elastoplast.
Yeah.
And some Germaline.
I could do with a nurse. Nurse!
I could we all.
Rum, rum, look at that, eh? Found myself a bike my size. 4 wheels mine, because I fall off too. Look at this, I've been looking for some gloves and I've found 3 different gloves of different types. But I've got this one, Exotica, 250 quid from Italy by Spidey. It is the business, it's got carbon fibre all over it, but it should be the business. I'd want it to make a cup of tea for me at 250 quid. But they've got a nice little idea here that covers up this very little bone here in your wrist that very often gets damaged. And that is covered up and adjustable in position by that one. Quite a good idea, but at 250 quid, when you can buy something like that at £35. Oh, okay, it's not as high tech and it hasn't got carbon fibre, but it's a good piece of leather. It's got Kevlar stitching and Kevlar bound underneath for protection, and that's by Revit of Holland, the Dutch company I've spoke of earlier. But this one, I like this. This is for your commuters. This is real, keep your hands dry and keep your hands warm for those moped and scooter users, because that's a waterproof cover there. Nice bit of grip for on the handlebars, and in addition to that, we just pull, and lo and behold, underneath a nice fleece warm glove which you can wear for just general use, driving the car or whatever. Clever, isn't it, eh? Yeah. All I need to do now is go and find a bike to use these gloves on.
And in next week's Two Wheels Better, Wayne answers more of your biking questions in his Agony Corner. And we take a look at Honda's budget trail bike, the SLR 650.